Yo. Monday. How y'all doing today? We back. I know it's been a little minute, but we're back. We're back. It's Monday. It's Motivational Monday. The weekend, I hope for everybody was either phenomenal or whatever you had to get through, you got through, but you're here for a good portion of the country. Maybe not everybody. It was also a holiday, so hopefully you had a chance to stay home, take care of something around the house, spend time with your family, get away from your family, get away, all kind of wonderful things that, sometimes you don't get a chance to do just based off the work week and based off of what you have to go through coming off the weekends. It is Monday. I can't tell you how happy I am every Monday when I have the opportunity to come on here and share with you guys and just talk about some cool things or some fun things to help get your week off to a good start and or to take back to your community, take back to your circles and drop those jewels so that the people in your circles now start doing some of the same cool things you're doing. I just want to say to everybody, I appreciate each and every one of you every single solitary Monday you tune in with me and y'all come on here and y'all rock and roll with us and you get those rules that Talon and I are trying to provide for you. This weekend in particular, for all our sports fans that happen to be All-Star Weekend, I'm not sure if any of you got a chance to see the game or see the various, things that they have going on, the dunk contest and so forth and so on. I know everybody's going to feel differently, blah, 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 blah. I thought, all in all, it's always a phenomenal weekend when the NBA gets together because, for one, it always seems truly amazing to me to see the old guard and the new guard come together. And it looks like all of them turn into kids all over again, just thinking about the game, reminiscing, bigging each other up and just talking about what it's meant to them and how they've gotten to this point in their lives. So I hope that you guys are finding ways to do the same thing in your lives, meaning if there's something that are truly impressed by or something that truly speaks to your heart, speaks to your energy, go out, do your due diligence, find out about it, find other people who are like-minded about you, about that thing, and then get around those people. That's motivating. That now gives you other people to speak to and to, talk about something that you find exciting, something that you find wonderful. So please find those things that motivate you, find those things that make you uniquely you, and find your tribe that goes along with that. And I promise you, Mondays, Tuesdays, and the rest of the week will always be motivational for you because you'll be around your tribe. With that, I want to bring in my co-host with the most. He's usually ripping and running around the country and doing all these and the various things, but especially bringing smiles to everybody because the business that he is in is the business of smiles and the business of making people feel good through laughter. So my brother in crime and my partner, King Talent, I hope you're in the building. Salute, big dog. And just so we know how things are going, please talk to the people. Tell them how your weekend was. Tell them what's going
Hey
on.
man, listen, brother, I'm with you, man. I had a stone cold blast of a weekend. I got some things done. Basically, this past weekend was a lot of physical work. You know what I mean? I tell you, I'm doing the crib, fixing the crib, making it presentable, starting over downstairs. You know what I mean? My cousin's no longer down, so doing some things around the house, making it happen. In between all the shit that we got to do as men, let's start with the whole, like you mentioned, All-Star, right? I have been so out of the overall All-Star loop for a long time. When I say that, I mean, obviously, we catch the game when it's on, and sometimes we're in the city party and all that. But all those things that, they play for 3 days straight, I've been out of the loop. Like, I haven't been tuned into everything. Like, they do stuff on Friday. They turn around and do more stuff on Saturday, whole day worth of stuff to the night. And then, of course, the game is Sunday. Like, so I've been so removed from that stuff. Dude, first of all, shout out to New York. We won the dunk contest. But when they said Nate Robinson won 3 of them, I totally forgot Nate won 3. I remember one distinctly, but I'm like, damn, Nate won 3? Like, I totally forgot that, right? So that's what I mean by being out of the loop of it. But this time I had a chance to peek in and catch some of the key stuff. I missed Friday, but I caught the shoot around, the 3-point joint, caught the dunk contest, caught the skills challenge, caught the performances. You know what I mean? So it was the first time in a bunch of years that I was able to catch all the little things that go along with just the All-Star game on Sunday. So that was great. Like I said, shout out to New York, bringing something home, contributing something. Like, you want your city to contribute something. Like, you hate to see all those teams and everything, and you ain't doing nothing. You be like, yo, we suck. But that was a breath of fresh air. I thought the whole Duncan and the Timberlands was funny. You know,
Yes.
Lincoln
Yes.
Marcus, New York, and Greg Anthony's son. So that was fun in itself and all that good stuff. Like I just said to you off air, you and Prophet P, shout out to our super producer. We're going to start having a segment on Mondays where we all find, and Pete, you got this homework too, brother. This is going to be the one time we want you to pop on screen and everybody just find a feel-good story, if not a real good story. I like that. Find a feel-good story, if not a real good story. Something positive energy, something with a positive outcome or ring to it. Because when we look at the stories in the news, it's 90% negative, and then they'll point to something. So what we're going to do, because Motivation Monday is a positive show and we're trying to help people mosey along and do whatever, we're going to start pulling up these positive stories and just, putting them out there, just some feel-good stuff. You know what I mean? So look for that starting next week. Well, I'll start right now because one of the positive stories, I got a show coming up in a couple of weeks with the songstress Kiki Wyatt.
Nice.
Kiki Wyatt is now expecting her 11th child.
Yes. I saw that. I was like, yo,
That's a
know,
super womb right there. She got a super womb.
It's so crazy. Like, and I don't know how I came across it. I saw it, a few different ways. But like you said, when you in the midst of doing so much, things come across your screen. You don't turn the sound up. You see it, but you don't really see it, or you don't delve deep into it. The only thing that I'll say about, her story and this particular story, to your point about being a feel-good story, I said it is amazing that in this day and age, someone such as herself is, now, like you said, working on her 11th child. And we really don't hear stories like that so much anymore. Not, that people don't have big families and so forth and so on. But it is really interesting to see in her particular case, she has really chosen to build up, what is eventually and ultimately going to be a truly large family that obviously will be around for generations and generations between the boys and the girls and everything else in between. And it's almost a throwback to a time and an era that is somewhat long gone. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny. It's like the running joke that they post sometimes in the meme where they talk about, all today's women wear the Victoria's Secrets. And like your grandmother used to wear, that funny looking house coat, saying she had 14 kids. Y'all out here with the Victoria's Secret. So yeah.
Well, hold on, this girl she got a super womb, bro. Because first of all, shout out to her husband, Zachariah. This dude be fucking. This dude be fucking because they now mind you, they just got married. His name is Zachariah David Daring. Zachariah and her just got married in 2018. Let's be clear. So you already got about 9-10 of my joints, over the years before we say, all right, fuck it, we do what we do and get married. So shout out to Zachariah. I love the hashtag she put it when she made her announcement over the weekend. The hashtag baby11, hashtag trusting God, hashtag baby daring, hashtag the Wyatt bunch, hashtag family, and hashtag Kiki skits. I like that. Those are so fucking dope, though. This is a feel-good story. That's what I'm talking about. Like, she's 39 years old.
Wow.
She's been married before, Michael Ford and Ramnet Ford. So, she got married real early. Remember she came on the scene real young, singing with My First Love with Avant, and then the rest was history. You gotta love her personality. I heard, I've heard a lot of shit, good and bad, but people are human. You know what I mean? So whatever. So yeah, she's doing a thing. 2017, cast member of TV One's reality series R&B Divas Atlanta. Her last child was born. Yeah, see, last child was born in 2020. So that means she had 9 Zachariah smashed that shit up, son. He had 9 joints. Zachariah banging that ass out. You can't really say that. You know why? Because she might have been banging his ass. Sometimes I know men, we got the whole bravado shit that we like to be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? But on some real shit, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes your punk ass is getting the shit fucked out of you. Let's be real.
I've been
you
know that's what's funny about it too, to the point that they have 11 kids. When you really listen, they also have names that are like old school throwback names. Zachariah and Kiki. That ain't like Shaniqua.
But the Zachariah shit biblical though. That shit, you know, this nigga coming with 14 kids. Zachariah, fuck, that's right there with them niggas. Noah, all them niggas got a lot of kids. That's just right there. The nigga might as well be Pharaoh. You understand what I'm saying? Zachariah tear that ass anyway. We're getting a little beside ourselves. Congratulations to the Darings. Congratulations to Kiki White, Zachariah, man. I agree with Amir. This is, a lot of people these days frown upon kids and how many got and all that and call it baggage. I don't do that. Because it takes a lot of love to have kids and raise kids. Yes. And to, especially like, they're on number 11. You know what I mean? So she could have easily shut that shit down, been an evil mom, blah, blah, blah. The fact that they're still getting pregnant and still having children, 11 later, you know what I mean? Like, that's real love. I mean,
that is.
Regardless of the situation, we congratulate and applaud them for doing their thing. So that's a feel-good story to me. So every Monday, we're going to pull 2 or 3 of those suckers out, build on them, learn from them, because right here, that's motivating to a woman who's scared to have a few kids because she think of how society going to look at her, or is going to look at her and treat her different. You know what I mean? Because I've heard guys sound derogatory towards that shit. We've all heard that.
No question.
What does that have to do with anything? Like, I never understood that. Matter of fact, one of my biggest turn-ons with a woman is that's why I won't deal with women too young. My whole thing was they haven't lived yet. And when a woman has kids, that's a sexy shit to me, to see a good mom raising a kid. That turns me the fuck on. I want a woman with kids. I'm hoping that if you're a good woman and you raise your kid right, this is a good kid that if I come visit you, I probably can sit down and have a real conversation, intelligent conversation with your child.
That is
you and the child become actual friends.
That is an absolute fact. You make such a great point. With that ideology, we have to understand that everything is a complete body of work. I know sometimes we come in on the parts of books, movies, or whatever, just on the part that we came in on. But you got to understand that some stuff happened before you came in. There's some stuff's going to happen, probably after you're no longer in the picture. But the biggest thing, to your point is when you see that there is a commitment to a child, when you see there is a commitment to raising a child and the bond and all of the other things that go along with being in that, parent-child relationship, it is paramount, and it really is a testament to all parties involved. And that is something for us to cheer. That is something for us to feel good about. And it is something for us to learn from, because the other side of that is, unfortunately, and, I've heard you use the name, but, little man, this little motherfucker is a terrorist. So now you start thinking to yourself, if I, really, set up shop with this woman and little man is out of control, I don't know if this is an environment that I definitively want to be in, just based off of some of the things that I'm seeing and some of the things and how I'm watching this young person, move in the world. So there is a lot of validity to that. It's so funny that you said the whole feel good story. So I got a really funny one real quick before we get into our other topics. And this also leads to being motivated. So just before we came on, I was looking online, and this is an old clip. So this is before Fat Joe became Jopra, as he's known now, and all this stuff. But he was doing an interview, with Busta Rhymes. And he and Busta was talking, and Busta was explaining to him about how the song put your hands where your eyes can't see, the boom
Right.
boom boom boom. He was explaining how that song came about, and it blew me away. He said he was hanging out with Buster said he was hanging out with Puffy. He said, and Puffy said to him, "Yo, man, you got to stop doing songs where you screaming all the darn time, all that rah rah. Nobody wants to hear that all the time, and especially the women." He said, "You got to do some songs where you talk and use your actual voice." So Buster said, I'm like, "Yeah, all right, Puff, whatever." Talking to me. He said at the time he had a road manager and two other people who were, making music and stuff like that. And what happened is his road manager came to him with the music for the song. And Buster said right away, I was like, "Oh my God, this song is crazy." He was like,
Right.
"I'm gonna really make this thing work." So he said what happened was he told his partner, the guy who's the road manager, he said, "I'm gonna need you to do some ad libs on it, like the way Puffy does on his songs." So he said, "If you really listen to the song, if you notice, there's a lot of ad libs in there." He said, "That's my actual road manager, who's the guy who was my road manager at the time, doing all the ad libs like Puffy." He said, "Because of the conversation that I had with Puffy." He said, "Now, where it really gets funny is," he said, in the West Indian culture, he said, Jamaicans, I got to use myself because I'm Jamaican. He said, for us to blend in and sound like we're speaking American, we put yo on everything. So he used the Jamaican accent. I can't do a Jamaican accent, but he said we put yo on everything. So it'd be like, talent, lend me $1, yo. So he said that's how he came up with it. He said, so in my mind, when I went in the studio to actually do the song, he said, if you would notice, I have yo on the end of everything. He said, but that was my way of trying to use my voice and make it sound much more Americanized than, the stuff that y'all had been used to hearing me sing. And what blew my mind about it, and this is why, I always say you have no idea how, the pieces of the puzzle fit together. I'm gonna share this with y'all because if you remember at the time when that song came out, the biggest song in the country was the Benjamins, which was Puffy's song. If y'all remember, just before Put Your Head Where Your Eyes Can't See, the biggest song, period, was the Benjamins. Like the Benjamins were everywhere, the regular one, the remix one. So when that song came out, we had thrown a party in the Roxy. And I'll never forget it because we had S and we had Kid Capri. And S opened up for us. Kid did the second half of the party. And I remember Kid dropped that. And that night is when Busta's song overtook the Benjamins in New York City, and everything started shifting, and we started hearing that song everywhere. This is a true story. So I'm bringing that to y'all because I want y'all to see that sometimes the pieces connect in ways that you can't even begin to imagine. Meaning, you're sitting around with your girlfriends or your male friend, and they bring something to you, and it sticks in your mind, and you kind of feel weird about maybe bringing it to the world. But the reality of it all is that's the universe. That's God talking to you, saying, "Hey, go on and put that out there, and watch what happens when all these other pieces start connecting to it." So like I said, that was my feel good story. But when I tell you I was watching, I was blown away. I was like, "Yo, that's crazy." You got the idea from Puffy, turn around, and based off of Puffy telling you what to do, you eventually overtook the Benjamins with that song based off of a conversation that you had with
And
the man.
that's dope. That's a dope ass story.
Isn't that,
Um, and closing on the feel good stories, I'm happy for my girl Britney Spears.
okay.
Britney Spears just got a book deal to tell her story, her side of
Nice.
the story, and upwards of 15 plus million. And I think that's dope because I don't care what nobody said. That girl had a raw deal for over a decade of trying to just get her life back, like take control of her own stuff. So kudos to her. So those are 3 feel good stories. It gets all downhill from now. It gets worse now. Here's some funny shit, right? So I had 2 interesting conversations today that are the 2 things I said I had that I want to talk about stem from these 2 very, very different conversations today.
Okay.
Now, first of all, I love random calls. Call me a weirdo, whatever. It's a weird thing that I know, but I love random calls. We have our people that we talk to every day. Then we have these random calls. We don't talk to these people every day, but out of the blue, you might get a call. You answer it because hoping ain't nothing wrong. Like, what's up? But it'd be just a conversation. So I'm going to start with the negative, and then I'm going to go to the positive. So I get a negative call from a young lady I know in Philadelphia. She's, she used to work for Amtrak. That was my girl. When she was at Amtrak, anytime I'm coming through Philly, I don't care where I'm going, whatever, hit her up. She put me on a train for free, whether I'm going further south, north, it don't matter. That was my dude. Me walking down to the conductor, take care of him, boom, I'm riding for free. Countless times, right? So I love her. Now, she, as of the beginning of the pandemic, she made a career change. A lot of people did. She said, you know what? I'm going to go do what I love to do now, which is cook. So she opened up her catering business, and cooking business and all that. And she even took it back and forth to Florida to here, whatever. So now she's back here, whatever, doing the things. And she's her roots. She has experience and roots in concert and comedy show promoting. That's hence how we know it. So now she's, doing all the things, putting things in play. And it's funny. First of all, the funny part is she calls me. It can't be no more than 12:30, right? This chick, as soon as she started talking to me, I could tell she's been drinking, right? So I'm like, I said, yo. She said some shit ain't had nothing to do with nothing after I said hello. And I was like, let me ask you a question. Are you sipping something infused with something? So she started laughing like, so what? Yeah, I'm drinking. I had my little weed. I got my drink. Da, 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 da. She said, but you drink with me, nigga. What's the problem? I said, no, you're absolutely right. I said, but it's noon, right? So she's laughing like you laughing. We laugh. And she's like, yo, fuck that. And she's talking. One thing about people when they're under the influence, I don't even think they realize it. They be all over the place. They're trying to make a point, but I can't get to the point because she's saying things and I got to hear key words and whatever. So I had to keep stopping, like, well, where are you going with this? What's the point, right? Oh, let me back. Basically, to put it in the gist so people can understand, she was putting a show together at the Met. It's a big theater in Philadelphia. It's like our Beacon Theater or whatever. So she's putting a show together at the Met. And she was going to have Barry Ribs on the show, I guess. And she got a lot of calls from people, and then, she's cool with Smokey, so Smokey called or whatever. And they're like, yo, we can't put him on the show, blah, blah, blah. So she's hearing stories, whatever, and then she calls Barry. She gets Barry's side, right? And Barry's like, oh, that's this whole bullshit. And they said some shit on the podcast, talking about me. There's some shit on the podcast, and people, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people saying this, that, third about me, whatever. So she calls me. We cool. She's like, fuck it. Let me hang up and call town. So when she finally it takes a while. When she finally get around the curve to what I think she's calling for, which is some of the back rib shit, her point that she was trying to make before she even got to that question, because this is just me putting it together. She said to the effect of basically all of these white people at these different things and levels, they all racist, blah, blah, blah. They still make money off us, blah, blah, blah. So basically, don't worry about that here, racist. Work with them and make money. And sometimes we got to deal with the devil, all this shit, right? She's drunk, so it sounded crazy. But I'm like, I said, well, I hear you. I said, however, me as a person, personally, me, I'm my own brand. When anybody puts a brand together, anybody, I don't care if you sell shoes or Avon, don't matter. Anybody that's pushing a brand sets up guidelines and rules and regulations of their brand, what the things they will do, right? Just like any workplace. This is not tolerated. We don't accept this. This is the dress code, whatever. So I said, regardless of how you may feel, I've made a conscious decision that I don't want to deal with it. And I have that prerogative. It don't matter how you feel. It don't matter what he says, blah, blah, blah. This is where I'm at with it. I said, you know what? Do you even know like the history of what's going on? No, I heard this, I heard that. So I could tell she got bits and pieces. I said, well, let me take you to let me play the whole track with you. You know what I mean? Don't just pick one cut off the album. Make it the whole album. I go back to the beginning through my shit. And of course, by the time I finish that one thing of my shit, she's like, oh shit, right? So I'm like, oh, but wait, there's more. So I said, you see how you feel right there, just knowing that little bit. I said, now imagine what he did to Smokey, and Smokey got him under the wing. He's feeding this dude day in, day out. I mean, 70% of his earnings is coming from Smokey bookings, whether he's on the road with Smokey or Smokey connected him or hooked him. So this is the guy. You know, it's like your own dog. You feed him every day. He hates you and bites you. Something wrong with that. So at the end, she understood. But somewhere in the middle of the movie, she was trying to explain her rationale was, well, I just want to deal with him because he has a connect with DL. I said, well, if you pay attention, he don't really no longer have DL caught wind of this story and what's going on. And DL ain't stupid. DL's an activist in his own right. So he's like, you know what? Maybe I need to distance against you. Nigga. If they saying you're a racist and you did XYZ towards black people, I make my bread too. Maybe you need a break. Let's let this shit roll over. Cool. Whatever was said, he ain't been with him. Right? So I say that to bring up the first point that I wanted to make today. I heard something. I forgot what the fuck I was watching, but my ears, man, they like fucking sonic boosters. When I hear something that's like boom, like lifting, the phrase was, they said, people who do wrong or bad. And what is it? You do wrong or bad, and the consequences or repercussions are pleasant, you're more likely to do more wrong and bad. You're more likely to do it again and again. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like if it's like the guy that don't get caught. It's like if you do something bad and you get caught, you go to jail, you not as likely. You might, you know what? Smack on the hand, learn my lesson. However, the people who do wrong or bad, and the end result, like meaning the consequences or the repercussions come back, but they are pleasant consequences, you're more likely to do that again.
Continue. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you cut your man's throat, but at the end you got some pussy, you might cut another throat.
Facts.
Got you some pussy. If you killed the person on drugs, but you made $1 million selling the drugs, you're gonna sell some more drugs.
Yeah.
So the person that does that bad thing with the pleasant outcome is more than likely to do it again and again. Hence the whole conversation with the young lady. Like, you're talking about doing something that you know is wrong, like against the culture. You saying fuck the culture to gain this thing. So understand, I said there's a slippery slope you're about to go in. I said, I can't tell you not to do it. It's your brand, your prerogative. I said, however, do be ready for those repercussions or those consequences. They may or may not be pleasant. You may get away with it unscathed and make you say, well, fuck it, and do it again.
No question. No question. You know, it's a couple of things I want to address in there. First off, shout out to all of our beautiful people, men and women, who make these kinds of phone calls inebriated. I want to give y'all a big shout out because, and this is 90% of the time, as Talon said, then you got to go in with your really good listening ear to decipher what the heck is really going on. Because like you said, it's all over the place. You feel like Columbo, you feel like Matlock, what's the next one? Like all of them rolled into one because you got
to be what's the name? Murder She Wrote.
Murder She Wrote, all that. Yeah, you got to be all of them, all at one time. It's the craziest, funniest thing because you're sitting there and you might even have to break out a pad and a piece. Let me write that down. Let me see what you say. So shout out to all of y'all for that. But the thing I'm taking away from that is, first off, you know, usually when people are inebriated for some reason, just like when people are emotional, that's usually when a lot of their real feelings come out. It is what it is. Don't know why the world is set up that way, but most of us have seen it time and time again. So please pay attention to said things said and, you know, reactions and so forth and so on, because that usually is some microcosm of what is really going on there. Right. The other part of the, you know, situation to, you know, again, what he just shared with us is, and I, you know, as I shared with y'all, you never know how the pieces are really connected in terms of the entire story. So please do yourself a favor and look at the whole entire story. Don't Don't get caught up, like I said, in the part that you came in on, because that may be just a minute part of the entire story, and it may lead you down a path and or put you in a situation that you may or may not be able to come back from. We all know and have been hearing since we were children various sayings. Your word is your bond. How you carry yourself and what you do is really what people judge you on based off of what they've heard and or seen. And then, the biggest one is, your character is not about what you do and or say when the lights are on and people are in your face. It's really about what you do and what you say when the lights aren't on and nobody's in your face, and you still need to carry yourself through to whatever the situation is. So these are all valid things that we can learn from. And I'm glad that, Talent started with that story in particular, because we have to understand that in order to continue to move through this journey called life, you're going to be faced with these kind of challenges, maybe multiple times, or maybe only once or twice. It all just depends on what your journey is and really what your brand is and what you're trying to do and get out of life. But in any of the circumstances, just know that working through the situation and or explaining to the parties involved how or why you feel the way that you feel is paramount sometimes in terms of setting the stage for things that's to come with that person also down the line. Because one thing we know for sure, and we've seen this also time and time again, fortunately, unfortunately, some of us do have a price. And I say this because, this really, goes more towards our show on Friday. But please, let's do a better job of understanding that as a culture, we have to protect our culture and we have to protect ourselves. Our job is to ensure that our integrity is always intact. We're doing what we supposedly think is best for the whole, not just for your immediate moment, the whole. Why? Because when you look at other cultures, that's what they do. You can say what you want. I saw a story floating around, and like I said, this is just because I want y'all to think about this story floating around. If I'm not mistaken, it's the governor or the mayor or something, is $10 million going to the Asian community based off of what's been going on with COVID. So you mean to tell me there ain't been no black businesses that have dealt with COVID? No African American businesses that have dealt with COVID. Y'all have to really pay attention to these things as you see these stories come out and as you see these things unfold. They play a different game. We're usually playing checkers. They're playing chess. There's a big difference between the two games. But the real big difference between the two is learning the rules of both so that you play them well and you make sure that the outcome is what you want the outcome to be. So I implore each and every person, like I said, always when we listening and we dropping these things, y'all figure out and write down the things that make sense to you, and then go back and do your due diligence, do your research, see where in your life.
That's the problem right there. You just hit the nail on the head. This is why we miss out on these things. It's not that these things are not there for people especially during this time, but how many of us, we spend so much time running from the government? How many of us align ourselves and do the due diligence to learn what grants be out there, what loans? I'm not talking about, and so many of us were so quick to get caught up in the scam of the PPP money and the unemployment money because some dude could fill out a paper and cut you a check and you give him kickback. That was so easy. But to go and do real due diligence and figure out what real loan or grant is out there for you and yours, and whatever you may be trying to already have it in place or trying to put in place. Either way, we on the defense when it comes to government. Like we are that community. Like we're not going to work side by side with the government. We're figuring out how to fucking get away from it. Don't call me. Don't say my name. Don't do that. Give it to me under the table. We've always been that because we're the minority and we've always been working against the grain. So I mean, I get that part. You put the nail on the head. Like, do your due diligence. Let me get to the second phone call. Second phone call. So now this is better. This is a better story. It's a happy one. And so I get a call. First of all, I get a text from my boy brother Arthur. Now, it's a picture from a newspaper article in Chicago, 1997, when we went to do Savior's Day for the Nation of Islam. Anybody that's out there that don't understand, Savior's Day is a big weekend. Well, everybody got Mardi Gras and Freaknik and this and that and Juneteenth. Savior's Day, the Nation of Islam. Matter of fact, it's this weekend coming. I think next weekend or this weekend. So every year, it's a big thing. All the Muslims in the nation come from all over the world to be here. All their ministers and everybody. You've never seen this many minks in one place. Let me just say that. So shit's amazing. So 1997, we get the call. When I say we, is myself, Capone. We the comedians. You got Too Short, Nice and Smooth, Public Enemy, this other beatbox dude, Dougie Fresh. There's a bunch of us. And we're the concert, right? But it's a whole weekend thing. So Brother Arthur is a guy. This is a remarkable story. Brother Arthur is a guy that grew up he's about maybe 4 years older than me, not that much, but grew up in Mount Vernon. He was a rapper, Kid Dust, and a DJ and all that stuff. And then somewhere in the middle of the movie, as time went on, he got down with the nation. Now, he over the years moved up the ranks. Put it this way: he's in charge of he's a minister now, in charge of a region, like 19 mosques is under his control type thing.
Nice.
So I get the call from him. First, I get the text of the picture, and I'm like, before I can look at it, he's bringing it in. So I answer, and he's like, "Yo, you see what I said?" I was trying to look at it, but you called. I didn't want to not pick up the call. So he's telling me what it was. He's from the newspaper, and I'll send it to you. I'm going to post it anyway for a throwback this week. But I thought it was dope. So we get to talking. I mute my whatever I'm doing on TV, and we get to talking. And it brought a real pleasant thing over me spiritually. You know what I mean? And I had to tell him about it. I said, "Yo, brother," I said, "You don't realize two things. First of all, you have a quality." He reminds me of this reverend who did my grandmother's service called Reverend Mulrain. And these are guys, and I don't know why, but I love this shit. I love those guys of faith. I don't have a specific faith, so it doesn't matter what your faith is to me. But I do love men of faith who can walk and converse and connect with anybody of any other faith. I love that. That's a quality like a motherfucker, bro. So I told him, I said, "Yo, you have this thing." And I'm telling him, and he's taking it in. He's like, "Yo, my soul is smiling." Like, he's like, "Yo," he said, like, sometimes I forget, I just being me. He's like, "I'm just being me." So to hear it makes me reflect on things I did or whatever. And I'm like, "Yo, it just makes me feel good, right? You're making my spirit feel good." I said, "Brother, my spirit is smiling. That's why we're on the phone this long." So we go to talking about all this stuff. And then I told him the story of when I was with your brother. I said, "You know what's crazy? I wouldn't know what years. I'm not good with years. But the fact that he said, this is 1997. And I said, let me tell you what's crazy. A year and a half prior, we were out there doing Hayward Workman's weekend in Bombers. And I said, that's when I met Farrakhan's son, Mustafa. Remember? Mustafa was there. So Mustafa, he's just one of the guys. Everybody, he's not on his shit. He's hanging, having Bahamas like everybody. He's just chilling, having a good time. So fast forward a year, I go do the Savior's Day thing. And now what they do is, our show, I believe, I can forget how the order goes, but they treat us like royalty. And then one day they had us in these VIP seats because the minister was speaking the next day. Big ass arena, sold out, whatever. We up front, and we like, wow, we fucking. I mean, the way they ushered us in and announced us, we like, yo, this is crazy, right? And when Farrakhan and them take the stage and come up, you know how them brothers FOI and everybody look tight, so they're out there, and I get to see Mustafa and his full blown guard, like on some, and it all just like overwhelmingly, like took over and just went full circle and made all the sense in the world that. And that moment was the moment I knew that we're more than one thing. If it makes sense to you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was just with this dude in the Bahamas. You would never know. Yeah, they said this is Farrakhan's son. So I'm thinking, oh, it's his son, but this dude defected or what? You know what I'm saying? No, he's his. his own father's personal top security, right hand man. He's all that. And when they put all their garb on, bro, it's like a revelation of the military. When they go to formal things, they look sharp. They look tight.
Sir. Yes,
So
sir.
I bring this, and this was a great phone call because we went on, and I had to share something with him. I said, you don't understand your implication in my life, your impression on me. I said, let me paint the picture for you. I'm a guy with two brothers. My father died. I had to be about 10, 11. So I didn't have a father coming up as an adolescent, right? I got two brothers, but one brother spent most of his time in jail. The other brother spent his time in the service. So I'm raised by all females. My 5 sisters, my aunts, 5 aunts, grandmothers, mommy. So it's all females raised, right? I said, so me, I'm a pretty smart motherfucker. So I knew at the age of 10 and 11 that somewhere in there, in the middle of my movie, I needed a male influence, right? A young adolescent male coming up in the hood, I needed an influence. So what I did inadvertently and subconsciously is I picked out people in my hood and pieced together a father, if you will. Like it was no one person to be, you know what I mean, the father, or whatever the case may be. So I would take these traits from this guy, these traits, and I would be around maybe 4 or 5 guys the most. But in my community, they represented something, and together they represented what I wanted to be as a man, complete.
Nice.
You know, there was one guy who we played ball with. You know, he was that guy that was great dude in the community with the kids and everything. But he was also that guy we had to get better than to get on that court. You know what I mean? But he always was dropping jewels and cared about, you know, and took care of every young man around him. It wasn't his job. It was just in him. So that's my man. He was my guy. Brother Arthur, the guy who called me, he was the guy. I told him, I said, funny story is, I was very smart. I was almost too smart for my own good that I had to dumb down how smart I was to hang with the people I wanted to hang with. Makes sense? I'm from the project. They were putting me in these humanities class with these people who I thought were crazy as fuck, and I had nothing in common, and I'm going dumb my shit down. I was this called level 1, the top, right? So I was like, I can't go all the way to 5. There's 5 levels. Going to 5, my mother gonna fuck me up. I can't do that. But I'm a compromise and hinge around 3. Getting to level 3, I'm gonna see niggas from my hood. True story, right? So I said, when I would run into Brother Arthur, and then this is pre-Muslim, pre-nation, and during nation and now, we always would have these conversations that I didn't realize I missed because most of the people that I would encounter or be around, we couldn't get on that level of intellect and conversation if I wanted to. So I kept it, like I said, dumb it down, keep it simple. But when I seen Brother Arthur, he was always articulate, always deep, always well-versed and known and just smart. You know what I mean? And like stuff that you ain't learned in school that he knows and how he can. But again, that quality he has, it's never abrupt or abrasive telling you it. He's not forcing Islam on you. He's not saying your shit is wrong. He said that on the phone today. He said, T, the key is, I read in the book, never tell somebody they're wrong for their point of view or their opinion. Because they're not. It's their point of view and their opinion. He's like, you can agree to disagree. You can expound on what maybe they said. You can say your version, but why would you say you're wrong? So I explained how I pieced together that problem situation, right? So now here's the thing that comes from that. Because he asked me a very interesting question, and I was surprised that he asked that. He said when he sent the picture of 1997 at Savior's Day in Chicago, he was like, yo, you remember that shit? Like, and I'm like, not shit, you don't talk like that. He said, yo, you remember that? I was like, do I remember it? I said, dude, how could I forget? This is embedded in me. And what it brought me to was a revelation that we don't talk about. Traumatic experiences. I think trauma and traumatic experiences can go both ways. Yes. I think all we deal with is the negative part of it because of the word trauma. I think because of the word trauma, all we do when we talk about traumatic experience is something bad. Somebody got molested. Somebody almost died in the car. Somebody, some COVID. Somebody was near death from COVID. This, that, somebody survived cancer. So all these near death things, we're like, oh my God, I'm traumatized. it's traumatic experience. Yeah, it is. But there's also these positive trauma situations that traumatize you, right? So I told him, I said, bro, how could I forget that? Like, that was traumatized. That's why I went into the story to connect the dots for him with the Mustafa thing. But it was so much more than that. We did our show. We ripped the show. We're in the van, all the artists. We on our way back to the hotel for the night. And the van gets a call from the palace. The palace is the White House people for the Nation of Islam in Chicago. That's where Farrakhan and Elijah and all of them held up and stayed in there. That's equivalent to the White House, right? So the van gets a call. We got to turn around. Farrakhan wants them to bring us to the palace. Now, mind you, this man is in a big diplomatic dinner inside the big dining room in there. Big ass dining room. Probably got to be about 20 of them around this long ass table. At the time, Muammar Gaddafi is on the screen, on the big ass screen via satellite in this meeting. This is crazy, right? And he just wants to take a minute. Middle of the meeting, he pauses everybody, and we all just line up and come in there. Hey, nice to meet you. And he's just shaking everybody's hand and talking to him. So good, brother. This is brother Dev Come Jan. You one of the good ones, right? I said, yeah. Cool. You know, all that's too short. All of us just line, and we're all flabbergasted, right? So between that, learning how the economic system worked with the nation, the concert, the palace, going to all these different events and seeing the people, meeting all the ministers, right? It's embedded. It was a traumatizing experience in a good way.
Yeah.
I've seen so much good. And when I came back, people thought I was convert. They thought, oh, he's going to convert. He's trying to get us to convert. It's not even that, but I got to give props where props is due. These brothers had it down from the rooter to the tutor. I'm talking to Amir. We always laugh at bean pies and shit like that, right? They do so much more with the bean because they own the property where they grow the beans and own the trucks and the trucking company that ships the beans all around the country. Yo, they own everything that they do and use. It's very rare stuff that they go through somebody else. Whatever they need on a big scale, it's in-house. So I learned that economic value in that. That's where I walked away with that ownership thing heavy. You know what I mean? But that phone call spawned that. Now, do you know, ask yourself, we deal with traumatic experiences, the word trauma all the time, and it's always attributed to just the negative. Like when you traumatize somebody, you actually shake them up, you know, and you do something to them that they can't forget and knock them off the train tracks. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's good.
I agree. You know, it's so funny. There's so much to unpack in the story that you just shared. The first thing I'll start with is the fact that, like you said, the playback from what he brought to the table to your childhood and looking and learning from an early age to piece together, like you said, what in your mind a father figure felt like and looked like to you. I bring that up because yesterday I'm standing outside with my neighbor, myself and my older brother, and we were talking and we were just talking about, you know, growing up and all this stuff. And to your exact point, I remember in my neighborhood, we had two friends of mine who I grew up with, the Green family and the Maison family. And we had this house that was directly across the street from the projects we grew up in. And literally, I watched Mr. Maison and Mr. Green, who were extremely wonderful gentlemen, drink themselves to death. This is true story. Right. Drink themselves to death, literally, in front of us as little kids. So when I don't drink, people are, you know, trying to think to themselves like, Amir, you know what? And I'm like, y'all don't understand. To your point about trauma or moments in your life where you put things or it embeds itself into your memory in a way that, you know, you then take the information and utilize it in a way that works for you. That's why I don't drink so heavy and so crazy, is because I watched, like I said, two gentlemen who were fathers. I grew up with their kids. I'm friends with their kids till this day. I watched them drink themselves to death. So for me, I get drinking, but I get drinking to a point because I know if unfortunately you let it get out of hand, it can overtake you and it can turn to something very seriously.
Right.
So that's the first point I want to make. The next point I want to make to what you're saying is, like you said, the interesting and fun thing of meeting people in spaces where they're not in the space that you are accustomed to seeing them. So, for instance, like you said, Mustafa, which was Elijah Muhammad's son, Minister Farrakhan's son, you met him. He's out and about, like you said, hanging out with us. We're running, ripping, and doing all this crazy stuff. And you don't think about it. But then, like you said, when you see them in their official capacity or a capacity that is different from from which you originally met them, it almost blows your mind to think to yourself, these are one and the same. But the reality of it all is that's how all of us are. That's how all of us are. I know most of you believe to yourself, and this is why I always, say this. You guys have moments in your lives where you've done specific things. It could be anything. And trust and believe in that moment, somebody saw you in a light that might be different in the light that they see you in now, because that was that moment. It called for that version of you, which is more than perfect because that's what the moment called for. When you are asked to then step into your normal role of whoever you are and whatever you normally do, that's dope as well. But we got to stop trying to act like there's some weird division between the two. Most of us, or some of us, and you can go back and look it up later, that's what really watching The Incredible Hulk was about. David Banner and The Incredible Hulk was the same person. It's just when one dude got upset, all these other things were triggered in him that forced him to move into a different space for the protection of himself and for whatever other things he thought was going on in that moment. But then when he retorted back to what we perceived to be David Banner, he's this brilliant scientist whose everyday, ideology was to try to make the world a better place, so forth and so on. I know we don't think that all of these personalities link up in some way, shape or form to form who we are, but they do. I share this with y'all, a good portion of y'all, or some of y'all who have now embraced me as a friend, an associate, a family member, or whatever. Mm-hmm. You guys, based off of this gentleman here and talent and our friendship, have done your due diligence and you're watching documentaries and different things. And you actually see me like, wait a minute, that's Amir in that documentary. Well, yes, because those were earlier moments in my life where I was in a different capacity. I was in a different age. I was in a different headspace, everything. The beauty of this journey called life is just that. It's figuring out what you need to do and be in that moment so that you can get the optimum stuff you need from the moment. Take it, store it away, because just as Talent said, we look at trauma for the most part in the negative, as we do most things. But we have to do a better job of starting to look at the bigger picture and not only look for the negative. I always try to encourage people, try to look for the positive. Yes, you broke up with somebody. It seems like the end of the world. I want to eat Chunky Monkey and sit here on the couch and listen to Mary J. Blige for 3 hours. But for all you know, that person might have needed to get out of your life so that you could usher in the person who really needs to be in your life to help you flourish, to turn that light on you, to water you properly so then you flourish and become the person that the world was really meant to see and know. How many times have we seen that, not only in the entertainment world, but in our own personal lives? How many of y'all have seen that? How many of y'all have helped a friend of yours, be they male or female? Hey, you know what? Don't even worry about that. I know right now things look a little bleak, but trust me, tomorrow it's going to be all good. And then you hear, I dated this person for this amount of time and it never grew to this, that, the third. Then they break up with that person, find somebody else. 2 weeks later, they get married, this, that, the third. Life takes on.
You was just crying.
You understand what I'm saying? But the beauty of it is just that. It's just understanding that. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks back. I saw Tom Hanks, like I said, with a group of other actors. And he was saying, this too shall pass. Mm-hmm. This too shall pass. I know we never believe that because in the moment, your emotions are running so high. You so like, yo, this is it. I swear this is it, Doc. But it's not. It's just a moment. The sun always is going to come back out some way, shape, or form. I don't care what is going on. And then the last thing that I want to address, and this is to me the biggest one of them all, is to Talent's point, please, y'all, start looking for the moments that were beautiful in your life. We probably don't call them traumatic because probably we try to use different words, beauty. I don't even know what the word would be for something like he said that has the same impact on you, but in a good way. Somebody, if y'all know it in the chat, please type it in. But that's what we have to start doing. You have to start looking at the moments. I'll give y'all a great one. I don't even know if Talent's seen this. He may have, because like you said, he was busy this week. Another feel-good story. As you know, your brother in comedy got married this weekend, Russell Peters. He got married to his lovely
Yeah.
lady.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the pictures and the video of it. True to life. I feel like we was the only two people who wasn't there, T. Everybody was at this daggone thing. I was looking at the pictures like today I was swear to God, I'm in the house all day because I didn't have to work. I'm like, damn, I didn't get an invite. Hey, he's there. She's there too. Jesus. I know them. I didn't maybe my joint got lost in the mail. I don't know. And I'm saying this jokingly because I don't feel that way. When I tell y'all to see A.G. White, to see Lunel, to see Big Daddy Kane, to see Said the Entertainer, to see Grandmaster Caz, to see from the Furious Five, the dude with the greatest, to me, the greatest rhyme ever written, Melly Mel. Everybody was there. Everybody. I was looking, I was like, damn, this was a dope party. I see why, Lord is putting up these pictures and giving us video footage. But
Right.
I promise you on everything that I love, I was so happy for all of the people who were there, who had the opportunity to experience that, because I'm hoping that the moments that they did was talk to each other, so into each other, show each other, look, I'm a fan of yours too. I started this by talking about, well, I'll finish that thought about the party, but that's what I hope that they did, because you don't realize until somebody comes up to you and says, "Yo, you know what? I watched you on A, B, C, and D," that anybody's even listening to something that you have to say, because in your heart of all hearts, you know that if you're doing something with a friend of yours, T is my brother. I do this with T because he's my brother and I love him. I never thought about all the ramifications of how this could be perceived to the entire free world and who might,
Right.
come back to me and go, "Yo, I see you every week, doing stuff with Talent, this, that, the third. I didn't know you was tuning in. I do stuff with my man Talent because we got some point of views that we want to share. We want to hopefully get the, world moving in the right direction. We want to bring some things to light that we think we should hopefully be paying attention to. And from there, we hope that these things will permeate out into the circles, into the tribe, and further on and further on and further on. So now we have this whole big unity and this whole big community who's thinking along the same lines and hopefully doing a lot of the same things again, which is sewing into each other, checking on one another, loving on each other, and making sure that at the final analysis, you know that somebody cares about you. Somebody loves you. Somebody wants to see you win. Somebody's hoping to see you win. Somebody's clapping for you. Somebody is in your corner going, "What do you need? How can I be helpful?"
Yep.
We don't do enough of that as a community. We tend to sit around. Raekwon, exactly, Trina. We tend to sit around and we wait until you've gotten to a specific space, and then we make that phone call to, "Yo, son, I seen AB." Stop doing that, y'all. Be a part of the journey. I told somebody this today, and I mean this. I told somebody this today. True story. We don't understand that the greatest part of winning is all of the work that goes in the journey getting up to that point. That's the honest to God truth. When I looked at the NBA today, and this is what I'm kind of close on. When I looked at the NBA yesterday, and I saw Michael Jordan, I saw Dominique Wilkins, and I saw all of the 75 players that they perceived to be the top 75 players. What stuck in my mind was watching each and every one of them go to almost kid-like status as they greeted each other, because they were thinking to themselves, if it wasn't for me watching you as a kid, I might not have gotten to the place where I am now. So it was actually my love for what I saw you do and how I saw you carry yourself that allowed me to continue to go, you know what? Maybe someday I'll be mentioned in the same breath. Maybe someday I'll be able to converse with. Maybe someday I'll have the opportunity to be around. And now to see all of these guys be around one another and truly give each other their props and go, "You know what, man? You was a pain in my side when you came into the league, or when you did A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to see you here," because, like I said, it's the work going along with the journey that eventually you really get to celebrate. It's not just the championships. It's the growth and all the stuff we see along the way, because as you see your people make that light goes on, you see them start to get into the spaces where you really always saw and hoped that they could be. You step back and you almost feel like a parent all over again and go, "That's dope. Look at my
It
people."
looked dope. Like even that one that I posted in my story, when Jordan and all them are kind of like behind the scenes, and him and Magic are going at it, and he's like, "Yo, you got the sneakers? I'll take you 1-on-1 right now." Magic just started laughing. He said, "This motherfucker right here." But I mean, but that's to be honest with you, that's the bliss of it all. Like, you know, we're all fans of each other, you know. And I think in the middle of our movie of making who we're gonna be, we lose track of that. We lose track of the human part, and we got the work part, and the celebrity part, and the artist part, and you lose track of the human part very easily, you know. And then there's these moments that keep bringing you back, and maybe shine a light on it. But for the most part, you lose that. So when the guy who you're a big fan of turns around and say he's a big fan of you, it fucking flabbergasted. It blows you away. You're like, no, it can't be for real. Let me. And I remember Rakim did that shit to me. Like, my first time working with Rakim, I was so fucking happy, like going over there to just say, I said, yo, man, before I could fucking finish my praise, this motherfucker's bowing, doing this. I'm like, no. You fucking up my shit. Like, how long it took for me to get here to be with you, nigga, on the same show. To like, you the God and say, bro, you the best I've ever seen do it. But yeah, congratulations to Russell Peters, man. I know we done went long, and there was only 2 things I wanted to talk about, and it's been like this, whatever. But you know, in closing, remember what I said. Like, 2 things that are very important when you ask yourself, why do people do wrong in the world? Why do they do a bad thing instead of the right thing? Is because of what I said. If you do a bad thing or the wrong thing, and your repercussions are pleasant, your consequences are pleasant, you're more than likely to repeat said thing over and over again, long as the repercussions, you know, or the consequences are pleasant to you or pleasing to you. And the second thing was, start to flip the narrative. You are your own walking billboard. You are your own brand, people, and you are your own person in control. You running the controls. There's no pilot up there in front of your life that you go, hey, how are we flying? Motherfucker, you should know. You are your own, you know what I mean? You're working your controls. So I say that to say, everything trauma is not bad. Things that shake you up and become traumatic can be traumatic in a good way for your future and a bad way, both the yin and the yang. So we need to be more conscious of that, pay attention to that. You know what I mean? And try to find the good in the bad situation. The most traumatizing thing we all share is the pandemic. Yes. And look what happened. Some people came out of it starting new businesses, you know, up the ante, doing things better. You know, left the job they felt prisoner in to start something they love or whatever. That's flipping the narrative and controlling your own controls. Ain't no pilot up there, people. You in the front seat, the middle seat, the exit row, the back, the bathroom. It's your plane. It's all you. So do what you got to do. Happy Motivated Monday to everybody. King Amir, thank you, brother. In closing, what you got?
I got, as always, guys, you know, do what you do. Love on each other. Like I said, check on each other, please, guys. That's imperative, especially under these circumstances. And when I say check on each other, yes, a text message is an absolute way to check on somebody. But if you got a phone number, as you heard Talent say during the show, pick up that phone. You have no idea the smile and the way you might touch somebody's soul from an actual phone call versus just a text message. And then last but not least, as I always say, it's nice to be important, but it's much more important to be nice. Take that with you. Use it every single solitary day. I promise you, you'll see all kind of doors open and all kind of beautiful things happening in your life that you never thought possible. I love you. Salute. And everybody have an absolutely phenomenal week. You know what we do. We either see you on Friday or we may see you somewhere in between. You just never know. We love you.